What is good? I mean, what is really good, my people? It is UK. Try to brother Dr. Blick, the darkest man. Who around us today, guys? I'll be talking about One Piece with Ninja. Say hi to the people, man.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Mr. Newstar, and I'm happy to make my return on the Dr. Blick's channel, where, like you said, we're going to be talking about One Piece. Probably my favorite series, your guys' favorite as well, so let's get right to it.
My favorite is Dragon Ball Super. But anyways, we are going to be talking about pretty much the best way to catch up to One Piece. Obviously, a lot of people have struggled to catch up to One Piece. A lot of people have problems catching up to One Piece because of how many episodes there are. But me and Ninja, we're going to discuss the best way to catch up. And I'm going to give it over to Ninja in terms of how did you get into One Piece? Like, just give us a quick, brief outline on that, bro.
So, I guess just to kind of summarize my whole story with One Piece, I started off a couple years ago at my library. There was Volume 1 of One Piece. I read through it, and I thought it was alright. I mean, it didn't strike me too much, and I was a big fan. I liked the designs, but I saw how many volumes there were. I saw the length of the series. I saw what it was like, and I'm like, this is alright, but I can't get into it. So I kind of just stuck with, like, my Dragon Ball and all of that. And, you know, recently, well, I shouldn't say recently, like, maybe summer of 2016 or something, people like Blick and Flash and everyone else, they would keep telling me One Piece is great, One Piece is great, and they were showing me, like, all these videos or like these designs or whatever about One Piece. And I was hearing some of the plot points that were going on in the story. I'm like, I'm really digging this. So I decided to actually check it out in 2017, and it took me about 7 months to catch up, and that was actually like really long in comparison, because a lot of people, it takes them like 2 months. Like how long did it take you, Blick?
It took me around 2 to 3 months, but I wasn't really necessarily trying to catch up, because a lot of people told me how slow One Piece is when you catch up. So I was trying to resist and trying to not to catch up the longest time, but it got to the point where I was in Dressrosa, where I carried on watching another episode. I'd be like, okay, just one more, just one more, just one more. And this was around the summertime, because when I was watching One Piece, I would stay up late to the point that I would actually see the sun start to rise again. It got to that point, because there's one thing that a lot of people forget, is that once you get to a certain point in One Piece, like I would say when you get to the Grand Line, when you get past the whole Chopper backstory part, and you get past and you get to like Alabasta, depending on whether you liked Alabasta. But if you get around at least I could say for me, I started getting really hooked when I got to around what's that arc? I'm trying to think. Water 7 is where I couldn't put down One Piece. It was too difficult. It was too hard, because everything that was happening was too interesting, especially when you see Aokiji like doing what he's doing. It was getting more and more good. The deeper you get into the series, you see how serious the plot gets in terms of its progression. But that's what happened to me when I was going through One Piece. I was more so trying to not to catch up, because a lot of people were telling me the pacing of the series, which me and Ninja will get onto later in the video. But go back to what you were saying.
Nah, I was just gonna say it took me 7 months, and I wasn't in any rush. And to those watching out there who aren't caught up with One Piece but you kind of want to intend on it, do not rush yourself in the slightest. One Piece will continue to go on for several more years. We don't even know how many. And there's no point trying to rush it. Also, considering that we're getting to the Wano Country arc soon, that seems to be going on for a while. Also, Reverie, those seem to be going on for a while, so you have time to catch up. Like, don't rush yourself, but don't go too slow either, because if you get too slow, you might start to lose interest. So kind of regulate yourself. I don't really recommend a schedule exactly, because I didn't go by a schedule. I just went whenever I feel like it, but I was still somewhat motivated to watch it. And it really depended. Like, some days I would watch like 0 or 1, and then there were other days where I binge through like 25 or something. So it really depends based on your interest. Yeah, it's like arcs like Water 7 that make you not want to put it down. By the time you know it, you're already finished. So, like, obviously different arcs are going to have your levels of interest, but you should still try and get through every single one. Even if you think it's a bit slow, it will get better. Trust me.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with what you're saying. But so when it comes down to arcs that people gotta watch, what would you recommend, Ninja? Like, what are the standout arcs to recommend? like when it comes to watching One Piece.
Now, is filler included, or you want just do canon?
Nah, we talk about canon first and dive into filler like right at the end.
Okay, so I mean, early One Piece, I dig it, but it's not the best in the series. Where I really got hooked was Arlong Park. That was the arc that made me go, wow, this is awesome. And then Alabasta, like, I like the Alabasta arc, but the saga itself is kind of slow, so I'm like, I'm a bit out of it. But the Alabasta arc I enjoyed. It was definitely an original story, and Oda even took influences from his previous arc into one of his later stories, Dressrosa. So that's interesting. It goes to show how original Alabasta was. So that might be something that retains your interest. I know some people that don't like it, but one of the arcs, few of the arcs that really stuck out to me, canon-wise, are Water 7, Enies Lobby. Like Blick said, it's one of those arcs you can't put down. Stuff really starts to go down here. Basically, I think Saba Odi and Marineford, it's basically in the Summit War Saga, so that name in and of itself kind of describes the tensity of that saga and the arcs that kind of go on. So Saba Odi, Water 7, / Enies Lobby, and Marineford, those are the pre-time skip arcs that really get you into it. And then after the time skip, well, the arcs aren't bad, and I mean, they aren't as good as pre-time skip, but they're still worth it, and you begin to gain a lot more insight on the lore and how everything is. So I would, those are good. But one arc that really stuck out to me personally was Zoe and Whole Cake Island, the current arc we're on. And Whole Cake Island is dragging a bit, but it's still great in terms of what it's had to offer since the time skip. But what Zoe does, it like introduces a huge batch of characters. It provides a ton of info for the audience. It's definitely an arc that, well, it doesn't have too much action in it. It can definitely keep you engaged with its fantastic cliffhangers at the end of each chapter and stuff like that. And this kind of goes for the other arcs too. And every single One Piece arc, I would consider, every single canon one, I would consider decent to great. All right, I don't think there's too many bad ones. I mean, obviously a lot of the filler is pretty forgettable, but as far as canon-wise goes, yeah, they're all solid, and I don't think there's a single bad saga in One Piece. So, yeah.
For some people, when it comes down to arcs, like, in my opinion, Ninja did mention all the key ones, but there's some things I want to just quickly go over, and that is the fact that when it comes down to watching One Piece, one of the main things you gotta look at is whether you're caught up or not, because being caught up, it plays a major key into whether you should watch the anime still. Because once you're caught up with One Piece, the anime, you feel how slow the pacing is. You feel how slow everything is. Like when I was catching up to Dressrosa, the pacing didn't really feel bad. It didn't feel that bad at all. Obviously things felt a little bit dragged out, a bit slow, but it didn't feel as bad. But when you're waiting a week to watch an episode and you see something hardly happen or see something hardly progress, you start to think to yourself like, yo, this is actually really boring. I'm watching this week to week and this is actually boring. Nothing's happening. You start to notice a lot of things and a lot of issues. But when you're watching it in bulks, you more so judge it in terms of arcs than in episodes. When you're watching weekly, you're judging in episodes rather than arcs, if you know what I'm saying. So that's something that you got to keep in mind when you're looking at these arcs. And Ninja didn't mention the good ones. Me personally, when it comes to One Piece, I would watch a lot of it because for me personally, it helps me speed up quicker. But I know some people like to read it. But I would say if you're reading it, that there's gonna be some things that you're gonna miss out on in terms of stuff not being as heavily evident in the series. Because sometimes I read the manga and I'm just like, yo, this is not really that clear. And then you look at it in anime and it's a lot clearer in terms of how everything's meant to be. Obviously, the anime does a lot of things wrong, and it also does a lot of things right. It's gonna have its pros and cons, but there's some stuff that it does that's a lot clearer, and in some senses a lot better, especially when it comes down to the fights and the music and the emotion of the scenes. That's something that Toei's always been doing really good. And yeah, so Ninja, what arcs would you recommend to read in the manga if you were to read in the manga?
So, honestly, I would recommend all of pre-time skip in the anime. I mean, me personally, like I did occasionally.
Pre-time skip or time skip?
Pre-time skip. So like right before 517 episode, something like that.
Okay.
I would recommend just watching it just because Toei did it really well. I mean, their pacing does kind of go downhill towards Summit War, but it's still great. Like, their animation quality is like top notch, music's great, all that. And I feel it conveys the story a lot better than, you know, post time skip in the anime. And yeah, I mean, I guess you could read the manga, but I think it's just a better experience to watch the anime. I mean, there were certain arcs where I decided to go back and forth because I wasn't able to watch, but I still wanted to keep up with One Piece, so I actually picked up the manga volumes. I read through all of Thriller Bark, and people said that was a boring arc, but I enjoyed it. So I guess maybe it could help to read the lesser rated arcs, I guess, so to speak, because there are those in pre-time skip, because you can just get through it quicker and get it over with. Thriller Bark I enjoyed, just because like I was able to speed through it much quicker than others were. But I guess for the entirety, just watch the anime for pre-time skip, but then for post-time skip, this is kind of where it gets weird. The way I did was I alternated back and forth for pretty much the entirety of post-time skip. Now, this one might be a bit jarring to some people. I mean, it kind of helped that I did that in pre-time skip for a bit, but with post, I think that's what you should do all the way, because there are so many things that the anime does better, but then there's also so many things the manga does better. And I guess if you're looking at it from a longevity type thing to where you want to get caught up quicker, yeah, manga's best way to go. But the anime does nail certain points that are just like, you don't get it in the manga. Like, there's a certain scene in Fishman Island where Luffy does a certain attack. I'm not gonna say it, you know, I'm not gonna spoil it, but he doesn't attack. It's cool at first in the manga, but in the anime, they actually show a flashback to something that happens, and you begin to really get the meaning of this attack. So it's little stuff like that that kind of makes the anime worth it, but I don't recommend watching it all the way through just because Toei messed with the pacing too much. So just kind of alternate back and forth, get used to it for a bit, and yeah. But if you are caught up with the anime though, just switch over to the manga immediately. I mean, I still keep up with the anime weekly. I feel like most people, like, the anime is really good right now, so I still recommend people to watch the anime weekly, but don't make that your primary source of how you view new One Piece content. Make that the manga, because the manga is much better paced. I know I kind of went to ramble territory, but what are your thoughts, Blake?
It's cool. I agree with you with some points. Like, me personally, if there's any arc that you find is slow, find them boring. So, like, for example, Thriller Bark starts off slow. What's that other arc that starts off slow? Skypiea starts off slow. Those arcs, yeah, when you're starting to get bored, try switching it over to the manga. Because the problem with One Piece is that a lot of people have issues is some arcs start slow and it somewhat makes them fall off. So when you're starting to find things boring, you switch over to the manga and then read it, and then when it starts to pick up, you switch over to the anime to see whether the anime still got that. It's still actually picked up in terms of that aspect. Or if you're one of those people that feel like, yo, I'm preferring it in the manga, then you can just stick with the manga. But when it comes down to certain action scenes, the anime is obviously going to have the edge on it because it's actually animated and it's actually in motion. With the manga, it's more so how effective the mangaka is in terms of the way they draw and everything. But in terms of animes I would recommend to watch or read, should I say, I recommend to read Fishman Island, Zoe, and I would say I'm not sure whether to say Skypiea, because Skypiea is longer in the manga. Like, that's one of the things you gotta keep in mind. There's certain arcs that are actually longer in the manga and quicker in the anime, but that's not the case in post time skip. In post time skip, every arc is longer in the anime than it is in the manga. But I would definitely read Fishman Island. As soon as you get into Fishman Island and you see Hoddy Jones and all those niggas, bro, I would do that. But I would go back and watch the action scenes, bro. I would go back and watch the action scenes in terms of seeing the dope stuff that Luffy showcases. I'll go back and watch that. But the overall, I would go through it in terms of the reading format. But other than that, there's not really a lot. In terms of post time, it's pretty fine. Oh yeah, Impel Down, I would read that.
Yeah,
I would read that because there's a lot of running, there's a lot of dragging in terms of the anime style things, because that really did drag. But in the manga, it's gonna be easier for you to breeze through. But as soon as you get to Marineford, you gotta definitely switch back over, because Toei did Marineford amazing. A lot of people would say that that's their favorite arc in One Piece. Is up there with one of the best arcs in One Piece as a whole. But when it comes down to trying to get caught up, if I was you and I got to Zoe, or I'm at Zoe, I would just start reading the manga onwards, because Zoe, in my opinion, in terms of visuals, it was visually good for the most part. But overall, I felt like the manga was just better executed in terms of that whole overall arc as a whole. Because that arc, watching that weekly and watching it wasn't really that great, and it was kind of boring. But Ninja, got anything else to add towards that?
So I guess just I don't mean to confuse too much. Like, it's all up to the viewer. Like, we've given so many different solutions you can go for. You can just watch the anime entirety, read the manga entirety, like kind of split it up, or you could alternate. Like, that's what I recommend for post time skip. And I mean, there's certain arcs in One Piece where color just adds so much more, and that's because the anime, you know, it's cool to see the visual art in the manga, but it's black and white. You don't get as much of that feel towards it, whereas in the anime, it's so...
Unless you read the colored one.
Well, yeah, but they...
But that only goes up to certain points, but like, yeah.
Now, I was just gonna say that's definitely one of the pros anime has as well, and the backstories. Like, the manga does the backstories good, but the anime really fleshes it out. Like, you ever notice that they may drag out all their, like, you know, exposition phases, but they really nail those fights and backstories, because the backstories, you really begin to feel for these characters, and the music that they use, the voice acting, that's another pro of the anime. You get to hear the voices, and One Piece is an amazing voice cast in Japanese, and I would just think about that, and that's why I recommend alternating. So when you get to the exposition phases of, you know, the arc or story or whatever, read the manga, and then when you get to the interesting parts, like the backstories, the action, all that, watch the anime. So that's just what I had to say. That's kind of my last thoughts.
Okay, so what filler arcs would you recommend watching? Because obviously, in my opinion, when it comes to filler arcs in One Piece, I would catch up first, and then if you're interested in watching the filler arcs, I would go back. But me and Ninja are gonna talk about the filler arcs that I recommended. But you take it away, Ninja, bro.
I'll be kind of brief about this. I like what you mentioned. Just catch up to the manga first, and then go back and watch the filler arcs. I think it's better that way. It doesn't drag out the story too much. But what I would recommend, honestly, is the Logtown filler. I mean, not the Rainbow Mist stuff. Just like there's a filler list out there. It's like 51 or 52 where it's those filler episodes. They add for some really nice character development and nice character interaction to kind of rest easy after Arlong Park. And then I guess you want to count that arc, you just throw that in with Logtown and canon filler. I don't know. But after that, I would also recommend the Alabasta filler. I don't know if you want to consider that an arc. I mean, it was kind of like they didn't reach out passages yet, and it's complicated, but I guess you could throw that in. But if you're talking like just filler arc specifically, Post Alabasta is pretty good because it has an episode dedicated to like each tribe. That's nice. Post Alabasta. G8's great because it just provides fun character interactions, gives us another side of the Marines, and it's overall nice in between arc, in between arc of Skypiea and Long Ring Longland. And as far as the rest, I mean, those are really the ones that kind of stick out to me. I mean, there was that one Marine rookie arc in post time skip that's like before Whole Cake, but that's only like a few episodes and it's not too memorable, so I mean, I guess you could skip that one.
I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, there's one thing you gotta keep in mind. There is a filler list, like Ninja said. Since there's a filler list, when you're going through One Piece, actually check out the filler list so you can actually know which episodes are canon or not, so you can actually skip through the filler. Because trust me, a lot of people say it's only 18%, but that 18% actually cuts out a lot of episodes and saves you a lot of time in terms of the stuff you're covering. Because there are filler arcs in One Piece that are legit boring as hell. Because there's one thing that Toei love to do, and they love to flesh out, and that is Foxy. Foxy's a character that they love to reuse, recycle, and for some reason put him in as many filler arcs as they can. So I'm just telling you, there's a filler list out there. You can go up there, check it out, and you can get through One Piece. With relative ease. But there's one thing you gotta keep in mind: there's no rush to catch up. When you're rushing to catch up and you're in a hurry to catch up, that's what kind of ruins it for you. Just take your time, just pace yourself, and be consistent, because you can't be stagnant. You gotta pace yourself and be consistent. People exaggerate how long it takes to catch up to One Piece. Like, Ninja, did it feel long catching up to One Piece for you?
I mean, I took my time with it, but it didn't feel too long. If anything, it was nice to constantly have something to keep watching and all that, so, you know.
But that's pretty much everything that we gotta say in terms of the easiest way to catch up to One Piece. But for the most part, these are just how we suggest you should catch up to One Piece if you want to get into One Piece. just purely for the fact that a lot of people are not unsure of what they need to do. This was just me and Ninja just giving you our experience of catching up to One Piece and what we found easy in terms of getting through the series. But as a whole, guys, leave your thoughts and opinions about that down in the comment section below, and let us know if you're catching up to One Piece, and let us know if this video actually helped you to try and be able to push yourself to catch up to One Piece. And also, make sure you check out Ninja's channel. Link will be in the description below. Highly recommend that. And yeah, let me just wrap up this video. So, please comment and subscribe. I know I say this all the time, but at the end of the day, I'm just saying, please like, rate, and enjoy this video. And yeah, this UK Chocolate Brother will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Peace.